could not imagine going through trying to convince someone you're trans. Informed consent is such a privilege. Yeah, it sucks so much, and they make it so difficult, and they make you jump through hoops to prove that you're actually trans. Because, like, someone who isn't trans, they would just give up. We're the opposite, the richest country in the EU by far, 20% of the entire EU population still be using fax. You cannot email certain things. You need to use snail mail. I feel like a lot of it is just a scam. When I had to, okay, listen, when I had my legal case in order to change my legal name, right? So how it works in Germany, how it used to work before the self-ID law, which we have now. So I actually, I needed to send to the court like a form that I needed to fill out with like my new name and whatnot. And I also gave them like 2 recommendations of people who can do my like the analysis, because I basically needed 2 independent psychiatrists, psychologists to write evaluations of me to determine that I'm trans, right? I had to prove that I'm trans. Because I couldn't fax it, I needed to send it using like snail mail, and then I got something back, and I was like, oh, something is missing. And then I was like, oh, okay, let me send this there as well. And then it was like, nah, something else is missing. And I was like, what the fuck is missing? And then they were like, okay, this is missing. And then I was like, okay, there you go. It dragged on for weeks, and I had the same fucking shenanigans during the thing with like my health insurance, because I couldn't use the like the mailbox, the secure mailbox from the health insurance. I had to send it using snail mail. And always, like, something was missing. My karyotyping was missing, and they, like, needed that. And then there was, like, a lot of, like, back and forth. It's so dumb. Hypothetically, Germany is very advanced. That's true, yeah. The self-ID law was one of the very few good things politically in the last few years. It does kind of suck for non-binary people, and the conservatives and the far right are already trying to like get rid of it. And they want to like put people on lists who use it or something. Psychiatrist 1, yo, the shtick is trans as fuck. Psychiatrist 2, I concur. The thing is, like, at this point, I was already on HRT. I was already like in the plans of like getting ready for like bottom surgery and whatnot. And they were like, I mean, it's like pretty clear, right? It's like, you know, I'm not going to like stand in the way of you doing this, but I still have to like go over it. It's like a 20-page document going through everything. And I got that, you know, twice. I had to prepare so many things. I had to reveal so many things. I talked about like my entire trans journey. I wrote that down. It is basically like a resume, but for like it's a CV basically, but for trans stuff. For me being trans, it was basically like, oh yeah, at like age 6, I was already like starting to, you know, I was just getting along with women more, and I just, you know, at age 8, I did this. At this age, I started playing games. I enjoyed playing as female characters, and it felt right to me and whatnot. So I have basically like a whole like timeline of all the things you had to apply to be trans. Yeah, the thing is also like, I didn't just have to send them my like trans story, like my trans timeline. I also had to send them my like my work timeline, my work resume, as if I'm fucking applying for a job to get my legal name changed. To be like, so yeah, you know, like at this age, I was like, you know, I was in university and I was like doing this, and I was like struggling with it. And then I had to like reveal this to 2 people. I had to like do like whole conversations with them to be like, yeah, you know, like my parents did this. Like they asked me so much stuff. They asked me about my parents, my sibling, my friends, like at what time they got married, as if that plays a role in order for me to get like my name changed and whatnot. It's so weird. It's so wild. The thing is, like, at this point, right, like if you were intersex, you could go to your doctor, your family doctor, and get like a document being like, oh, there's like an incongruency in your sex development. And then you can go with that to your local town hall and get your name changed. Which is like, some trans people use it and they get away with it. but it wasn't intended that way. And there was actually like a lawsuit about it where it was being denied, because you could argue, hey, you know, if you're trans, that is an incongruency in your sex development, but it just doesn't count for like the trans people. Right? At 17, I wore a dress for the first time and experienced gender euphoria, noticing my ass looked fat in it. Fair, yeah. Here you go, Mrs. Psychiatrist. Here's my trans curriculum vitae. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The thing is, like, I went to a judge, you know, I went to court. I had like a court hearing, which also took like months to get because they are so fully booked. They are so booked. They're just filled. And it's like, it's difficult to get like a spot there. So anyway, like I paid 2,000 euros like in advance. You were able to like get help with that, but I would have had to like write down everything. Like I would have to write down like how much money my car is worth. If I have like any real estate, if, you know, there's like some money in like my PC equipment and whatnot. So I was like, no, I'm not dealing with that shit. I'm just like paying like 2,000 euros out of pocket, which is like, it was a lot of money that I would like to have right now. And so I went to a judge, and then I was declared female. A judge declared me female. The positive, after dealing with all of this, using like the transsexual law here in Germany, from the 1980s, I must say, the positive of it is basically like nobody can like reveal that you weren't actually, you know, assigned female at birth. You get like a new birth certificate that, you know, just like says that you're female. It has no like asterisk or anything. People can't like reveal your dead name and whatnot. So I went through everything. I paid money. I got declared female by a judge. I paid 2,000 euros. It wasted like over half a year of my time. And now, you know, they have like the self-ID law where you can just like fill out a form. You go to your city town hall. And obviously you have the conservatives and the right-wing party being like, what if someone exploits this? You know, what if like a bad guy does it and they're like changing their legal name? Nobody's going to like find them. Which is like, even my stuff is like still like, it is still written down like somewhere in the town hall. There's still like mentions of it, that I changed gender in my name. And they're also like, we already had the trans law. Like, why do they need something else? You know, they want to make it as difficult as possible. Like, that is kind of like the thing. Like, you have to earn it in order to like prove that you're trans, like actually trans. You got to go through all of these things because like, what if you just change your mind after a year? What if you change your mind? What then? You get the regret. What is going to happen if you change your name? And you're going to regret that after a year. Like, oh my god, like the trauma that like, obviously like we can't do that. Like, what if people exploit it? What if people regret it? Like, you know, that's how they like justify it. But like also our conservative party is also like, oh no, when you have like, you know, gendered language that's like too complicated, like you gotta like pick one. Also like always pick like the gender neutral masculine variant of like job titles and whatnot, because like you can't gender, that's like, you know, that's like too much. You declared you female, like with a gavel? Yeah! Literally, like recorded something. I was like, I hereby declare Yara to be female. Yes! And he hit the gavel! He hit the gavel to declare me female. Yes. I went through that. I basically went there and I had to like justify my name as well, right? I had to like explain my name. And then the worst part is, so I went to the town hall. Everything was fine, right? Like I read the transcript and whatnot. Everything was fine. But I went there and somebody typed my name incorrectly. So I couldn't get like a new ID because like somebody made like a typo in there. I declare this dude now to be that bitch. Exactly. But yeah, obviously, you know, like the self-ID law, it's not perfect. It kind of sucks. It's not well designed if you're like non-binary and whatnot. But it's like somewhat of an improvement. Slight improvement. Like the bar is incredibly low, especially like here in Germany, bar is incredibly low. Not sure how it's even, how it is possible. We even got transgender legal in Germany. How is that possible, but not a normal school system? So the thing is like all of these like 1980s law around like trans people and whatnot, all of them were made by people who still had like the Nazi thoughts indoctrinated into them when it comes to like trans people and whatnot. So obviously all the laws suck. All the protections and so on, like they suck. Like in order to get approved for HRT for like DIY, you gotta go, not DIY, for like HRT, the legal route. You gotta go to like a therapist who is going to like approve it for you. And then you go to the endocrinologist who's going to like have to approve it as well. My therapist denied me the piece of paper because I didn't want to go to LGBTQ plus meetups. And I also was wearing unisex clothing. I was wearing unisex clothing. I didn't wear makeup and whatnot because I just looked like a dude. And my therapist, who was a woman, was like, I mean, if you're like really, you know, trans and whatnot, like I just don't want to like give it to you because like you're saying that like you want to wear like unisex clothing, like, you know, like, why don't you, like, wear skirts and, like, high heels and, like, makeup and whatnot? Why don't you just, like, do a womanly thing? Like, do you need HRT even? Why do I have to literally pretend that being a woman is, like, some cosplay that I need to, like, put on, like, a costume? And I have to, like, do, like, these stereotypical things in order to prove that I'm, like, trans enough? When obviously, as someone who was perceived to be a man, I do not want to like go out in a skirt and put myself in harm's way by visibly standing out as like a man wearing a skirt. The therapist gave no fuck. The thing is like, I went to the therapist for like a year. And then they were like, nah, I also don't really feel comfortable with like doing the trans stuff. Like, I don't even know anything. Like, go. Why don't you just, like, go to someone else? Like, you know? And I was like, I just need this piece of paper to, like, start because, you know, I'm obviously depressed. And she was like, yeah, but, like, you know, like, what about university? What about, like, your time management? What, you know, like, why do you struggle to get out of bed? And I'm like, I'm fucking depressed because, you know, my gender identity doesn't align with my sex. And I would like to start HRT in order to, like, start transitioning and, like, fix that. And then I tried to find, like, a new therapist. And I had, like, the issues with the Christian old guy who was like, why don't you just, like, look at yourself, like, beyond gender, right? Like if I would wake up in the morning and I would be like a woman, like I wouldn't care. I would just like move on. Why can't you do the same? Why are you like struggling with that? I got fired by my therapist. My first therapist wanted to get rid of me. Big time. My therapist wanted to get rid of me because I went there to be like, hey, you know, I'm struggling with, you know, being trans and whatnot. And then she did something for me, you know, to like write the piece of paper. After like a year, like something was like missing, things were like going wrong and whatnot. And then there was like a sentence that was missing. And then she didn't want to like correct that and was like, yeah, you should like just go to someone else. Like, you should really go to someone else. Yeah, Nia, why didn't you just not have dysphoria? Yeah, like my dude was literally like sitting there and being like, why don't we just like start easy and like talk about identity? Who are you beyond your gender? And I was like, you know, like, oh, I like enjoy doing these things and, you know, that's what I'm like really confused. And then, you know, he was like, yeah, but like, who are you really? You gotta figure yourself out. And I was like, hey, actually, like, my mind is like really occupied because of like gender dysphoria, and like I'm really struggling. I do not like live my life. I didn't actually like live. I was just like on autopilot the entire time. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, maybe you need to like take a moment to like, you know, figure yourself out and do all these things. Like, I mean, it's a big decision to start transitioning. Like, what if it's not helping because you're not actually like trans? Got diagnosed with gender dysphoria like with my first therapy session. I just realized how lucky I was. So after like 3 years of like trying to find like a proper therapist who was willing to help me, because I had therapists who were like, yeah, like, you know, I would help you with like, you know, dealing with like gender dysphoria, but like, there's like the problem when it comes to like the evaluation, like you starting HRT, because you can't be like as honest. And like, I don't want to like give it to you because like, it's just too problematic. And I was like sitting there being like, fucking give me that piece of paper, please. What do I need to do? I was at a point of like literally fucking begging to be like, hey, please tell me what I need to do in order to start HRT and like find someone who's willing to help me. I was like driving across the fucking country, like 2 hours to get to like an appointment. And then someone was like, yeah, I think you gotta like be with me like twice a week for like a year and then I can give it to you. And I'm like, I am like 20. Like I came out with 22. I'm like 24 at this point. Like, please just give me something. I wish I would have just like started DIY in that time, right? I wish I would have just like looked into it, like getting over the fear of like actually like putting in like the effort to like learn about like HRT, checking how to like get it, to not have like this rush. Because like if you're trans, you always feel like you're running out of time. Right? And then you have roadblock after roadblock and another roadblock. And every time you see you think that things are moving forward and you're making progress, then it's like another roadblock and whatnot. I even had like, in the meantime with the endocrinologist, all of these tests, to see that I'm like prone to thrombosis. And then they were like, yeah, maybe you can't even actually start HRT. The risk is too high for you to develop thrombosis. So actually, you shouldn't start HRT. You shouldn't do that. So I was like sitting there being like, honestly, like I just want to start. But according to transphobes, people get operated within a day. Yeah, you just come out as trans, and then you just start cutting off genitalias. It's so people are so fucking incompetent, and then transphobes make it out to seem like we just have it so easy. Or to paraphrase someone, you decide you're trans and the next day you're swinging your dick out in a women's bathroom. Hypothetically, exactly. We were the pro-intersex surgery at birth crowd. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it sucks so much. I could not imagine going through trying to convince someone you're trans. Informed consent is such a privilege. Yeah. It sucks so much. And they make it so difficult and they make you jump through hoops to prove that you're actually trans. Because, like, someone who isn't trans, they would just give up. They would just reconsider. We make it so hard. We give you so many roadblocks, so you just reconsider. It is basically, like, trying to prove to you that it's so difficult. And then, like, in society, we are also going to, like, make it so hard, so you're also deterred from it. You have to jump through hoops to prove that you're trans enough. I had to prove that I'm trans enough in front of multiple therapists, psychologists, endocrinologists who were fucking me over, a judge, obviously, right? And like I struggled a lot because like I didn't have like immediate results and whatnot, so I was still being perceived as like a man, as a guy, and it felt kind of shitty. It felt really bad to go there. And I always had the thought inside of my brain being like, what if to appointments, I would just dress up, wear like a skirt, do like the traditional like man in the dress, man with a wig type of thing in order to like give people the perception that I'm trans. Yes, this person is actually trans. The same when it comes to like in Germany doing like the 1 year of like real life tests where you have to work as if you're already like transitioned, which also puts people in danger, which is like really awkward and whatnot, because HRT actually impacts a lot. Like body fat redistributions can change a lot of things, right? Like a few years of like HRT and whatnot, like it can change a lot of things. But like having like this real life test where before you start transitioning, before you start medically transitioning, you gotta have like a real life practice test to see that like if the abuse that you're going to endure from being perceived as like a trans woman is actually worth it enough for you to prove that, you're trans and whatnot. Go roleplay as a woman without transitioning at all. Exactly. That's what it is. It is so evil. It is basically like, in order for you to start living as your real self, we gotta make you fulfill stereotypical, female beauty expectations, social gender norms, and whatnot. Have you jump through all of these things in order to prove to like the health insurance and like the therapist enough that you're trans? If you're really a trans woman, then you would wear dresses, right? If you were a trans woman, if you were an actual woman, you would wear high heels. You would go with that in school. You would go with that to work. Doesn't matter like how quote unquote passing you are, how self-conscious you are because you don't pass, how much dysphoria is going to be revealed because when you look at at yourself in the mirror and you're wearing like a skirt and so on, and you start crying because there's like this mismatch and it feels wrong and it's just so weird. May I ask a genuine question regarding this specifically? Yes, go ahead. Huh? Like, I told my therapist, I literally told my therapist to be like, the first time I wore a skirt, I started crying because like it felt wrong to be like a boy in a skirt and to be perceived as a boy in a skirt. I just wanted to be a girl. I'm guessing that test conveniently ignores the fact that the first way you try and present femme will feel bad because the mind says it's wrong because of society. Yeah, that too. There's also like this thing, I was telling my therapist, yeah, kind of like I dress unisex. I was wearing like women's pants and like an oversized shirt and whatnot. Basically things that I'm wearing right now as well. It's just normal like women outfits, but you don't perceive it that way because, you know, the difference between women's pants and like men's pants is just the pocket size. But like my therapist was like, no, you have to wear skirts. You gotta wear dresses. Otherwise, like, what's the point? There was also like during winter and I was like, you know, I don't feel comfortable walking through the street like that. Like, I don't like when people stare at me. Just like, I mean, women don't care. Women are like freezing a little bit, you know, because, you know, they just like the outfits. And then also like the thing of like, what if they actually like looking at you? Why do you assume that people staring at you think that like it's bad? I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out if it's good or bad. Women don't feel cold. No, women are suffering for like, for the outfit, for the looks. Outfit as femme as possible while maintaining plausible deniability. Exactly. The therapist was just transphobic. Yeah, misogynistic women are fucking wild. But yeah, I had very negative experiences with all of that. But yeah, society just like fucks with trans people, right? And then you fulfill stigmas in like the social norms and like stereotypes. And then it's like, yeah, but like being a woman is not a costume. You are actually the reason why gender norms are actually being enforced. Like, can't you just be like a feminine man? You just can't win. So I've spoken to my therapist about these things a lot, and at some point the question came up, and I don't believe she's being transphobic, just trying to help me figure things out, that if womanhood isn't limited to physical aspects like genitalia or childbearing or dressing X way, what makes one a woman? I wasn't quite sure of how to answer. Save for responding, I don't wish to be a man. The thing is like, what it means to be a woman is like different for everyone. Like, your gender identity determines your gender. Like, and they're just little things, right? That are different. Society perceives you differently and treats you differently depending on if you're a man or a woman, right? That just like happens. For me, a lot of like the things where like, obviously I did have like bottom dysphoria and whatnot. It feels wrong. Like, there's this disconnect. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, I have like a third arm and it feels off. Right? It's like a tumor, just like it doesn't connect with my brain. It doesn't make sense. Looking at myself in the mirror, like it felt like I wasn't actually like looking at me. But obviously there are like a lot of things being like, oh, so I just want to be a woman. I just want to, you know, fit in with the other girls, and I want to, when I dress up or whatnot, I want to dress up as a girl and be perceived as a girl, right? I do not want to have certain experiences as a guy because it feels off to me. It feels weird. I cannot explain this. This is just like a feeling to me because like this mismatch of like my gender identity and my sex, how other people perceive me and how I perceive myself and how I want to perceive myself, or like what feels right to me. There's just like no connection. This is not about like me having to be a woman in order to wear nail polish. This is about just me enjoying to wear nail polish, but I don't want to be seen as like a guy who wears nail polish. I just want to be one of the girls, right? A lot of it is like, for me, like it makes it evident for me when it comes to like perception, but it's just like your gender identity is like an innate feeling. But like a lot of things, okay, if I do dare to open paint, let me try. I did this one sketch of like, this is you, this is your brain, and you know, this is like your body, right? And then you have like other people, they judge you based on that. They put you in a box based on this. There's no link here, right? There's also a disconnect between this. There are physical differences between like a body that went through like male puberty and the bodies that went through female puberty. Like your secondary sex characteristics. You got your body fat redistribution. And obviously, like these are like physical attributes, right? And then you they are like, you know, social norms, your gender things, like a lot of things that are like being perceived as more masculine and some that are like more feminine, right? You got the mask stuff here, you got the femme stuff here. A lot of the times when it comes to like clothing and whatnot, a lot of it is like how certain things sit on your body. Like if I'm wearing skirts, but I have like the body fat distribution of someone who went through like male puberty and whatnot, it's going to sit differently than someone who went through female puberty, right? Like that is kind of like what genders a lot of these things. If you do something that is like considered feminine, but it sits on like a body of someone who is like more being perceived as like a man or whatnot, it doesn't feel right. For me personally, like when I did something and I looked at it and like it perceived as just like a man wearing a skirt or whatnot, it felt wrong on my body. The same when it comes to like your nail polish or whatnot. Like if you have more like feminine hands, it looks different. But like there's like a lot of like psychological torture that I put myself through by being like very insecure about things and like unnecessarily like gendering them. Because like it's not black or white, right? But when you go, for example, to like a nail tech, right, and you see like all the women there, and then you do it like as someone who is perceived as a guy, it feels weird. It feels like you don't really like fit in. When you're more mass presenting and you wear like stereotypical feminine clothing, and then you go into like the men's bathroom, like a public bathroom, you're going to kind of like stand out. And that's kind of like how I felt in a lot of like these instances. Obviously, like these things, they don't make you a woman. They are not the reason like why you're a woman. But if you're trans, if you have like your gender identity and you want to do certain things, but you want to do certain things as the gender that matches your gender identity and not like how other people perceive it based on like your sex, it can cause like a lot of like dysphoria, even though the things that you're doing should give you gender euphoria, right? So I kind of restricted myself in a lot of like these aspects and didn't want to do these things. Does this kind of make sense? This is also like my personal experience, so I don't know if it like resonates with someone. We also have to learn to wear the things, and it can take time to get used to. Oh yeah, there's a lot of like transphobia, like internalized transphobia that comes with it too. A lot of it has to do with like the constant invalidation and so on. A lot of like the highlighting of like certain, you know, quote unquote flaws. What I feel like really insecure about is like shoes. I would love to wear like heels, but I'm already like tall and I don't want to be like even taller. And then also like it doesn't like exist in my size. Like all of the cute shoes and whatnot, they don't exist in my size, which sucks a lot. I cannot walk into like a shoe store and whatnot because like they are not going to have anything in my size anyway. It sucks so much. So I'm basically wearing like unisex sneakers and so on. Do you have height dysphoria? I do, yeah. Also like, you know, the same issue when it comes to like cute clothes. A lot of them are like too small. Nothing wrong with it. I just don't want to be one. I don't mind when other people are tall. I just don't want to be tall myself. Just wish my feet were smaller. Like, come on, just 1 centimeter less. Yeah. I was built for swimming. I'm 9% faster at swimming.